All right, what's up, Facebook, YouTube, internet world? We are back. This is week number 4 of the coronavirus quarantine vlog saga. Boom. All right, so what's been going on this week? Big picture, not that much has changed. The U.S. is still number one, and there is a mandatory mask rule in all of LA, so you can be fined $1,000 if you're out in public without a mask, which I think is a good thing. People are getting more and more into contact tracing, which has, it has some privacy issues, but at least for now, I think it's justified. Of course, never let a good crisis go to waste, and you can bet that the state coldest of all cold monsters will not let this crisis go to waste. So that's going to be something we got to watch out for. Full disclosure, this is the second time I'm recording this because we had some video issues with the first time. But, we're using new equipment. This is now set up with the official webcam. So we have broken free of the, holding the phone up in front of your face. And now I can use both my hands at once to gesture. So pretty excited about that, do stuff like this. Ooh, all right, cool. So yeah, big picture, not a whole lot has changed. There's everybody's getting the Rona. There's like this intense like U.S.-China animosity right now, which I think is dumb. Because bottom line, the Rona doesn't care what nationality you are; they're coming to get you no matter what. But I think that both the United States and China are trying to like position themselves for like a great power conflict after the Rona. And as a Chinese American, that's an issue for me because I am Chinese by blood and I live in America. So I want good Chinese American relations. I want peace and trade and all those good things. And from the American perspective, it's a lot of like, China, and the Chinese perspective is like America. There's this crazy rumor going around in China that it was like released by the U.S. Army as like a deliberate bioweapon. I think I mentioned it earlier, but come on, China, you're better than that. But to their credit, they are also donating shit tons of masks and tests and protective equipment around the world. So, at the end of the day, when we're talking about states, there's no real good guys. They're all pretty sinister. Coldest of all cold monsters. Cool. So, all right, that's a little bit about the big picture. Small picture, I changed my Chinese classes from 1 2-hour session once a week to 2 1-hour sessions, obviously twice a week. And that's because it's a fucking pain to like sit and like stare at a screen and listen to AirPods and all that for 2 straight hours. Like when you're talking there with someone, you can like like feed off their energy. There's like subtle like little cues if you're getting tired and you want to take a break, whatever. But when you're like, especially if the video chat connection isn't good, there's like, it's just fucking tiring, like focusing on a fucking screen for 2 hours. So, I reduced it down to just 2 1-hour sessions this week, and it seems to be going a lot better. It's now Tuesday, so I had the first session yesterday, and it was way more manageable. But looking into getting raw food for my cats instead of wet food, because of course eating all your food out of cans isn't necessarily that good for you. So I found one of my homegirls. She uses this butcher who will like take meat and bones and organ meat and grind it all up and freeze it and then ship it to you. So hopefully that'll be good for the cats. Hobbs, my older cat, my number one cat, he's got some he's got some health issues. He's got like struvite crystals. So I'm hoping that if changing his diet might be something to help. I tried using like the veterinary diet, like the urinary SO diet. First of all, it cost $1 zillion. Secondly, I did it for like 2 months. It didn't do shit. So maybe like I'm hoping that the raw food will be not only healthier but also cheaper. Uh, StarCraft, fucking dominating, wrecking fools. Punched. When I first did my placements, I didn't know shit. I used to be good, but they changed the whole game around. So I placed into Bronze League, which is like the lowest of the scrub leagues. But since then, I punched up Bronze League, Silver League. Now I'm in Gold League. So if by the time quarantine is over, I get back to Diamond or even Masters. So it goes Bronze, Silver, Gold, Platinum, Diamond, Master, and every stage is about like 20%. So if you're Gold League, which is like the middle league, you're about in the 50th percentile of StarCraft players. So I'm climbing my way up through the ranks. I've been killing everyone in Gold League. So I think it's just a matter of like I placed low in the beginning because it was all new to me, but now that I'm getting back in the hang of it and starting to understand like the specific changes in the game that have taken place, I'm regaining my former position. I used to be Diamond League back in the old days, but now I think it can be even better. Now I'm just like so much smarter. There's so many more skills that I have that I didn't have before, and I've even started streaming on Twitch, just like among friends, a little bit here and there. It's like a cool way to share the game with people and to like to hang out with people who. Cause it's a hard game, So to hang out with people who might who are curious about it, but don't necessarily want to engage in that like cutthroat competition of StarCraft 2. And it is cutthroat. Every game, it's like a duel between samurai. Like have you ever seen like in the movies where like the two samurai like they square off, it's like, and then one person's head falls off, or like their body like goes. That's what the game is. It's like a razor's edge. Like you throw little things to try and push them off the game, and then in the end, somebody makes a decisive attack, and that attack is either parried, broken, and they die, or that attack just kills their opponent straight up. So the game is awesome. Fucking love it. But it's so intense that like I've taken to like having an ice pack on hand when I play, because otherwise it gets all sweaty. So I'll like hold it in my hands in between games, or I'll like press it against my body like when I'm playing, like just like squishing it near my blood vessels to try and like keep my body cool. Ironically, like I picked up StarCraft because I can't do jujitsu, but I feel like I get more stressed out playing StarCraft than I ever did doing jujitsu. So yeah, it's a fucking game. I don't know if I necessarily want to make it a goal during quarantine to punch up into Diamond or Master League, but it would be cool. Cool. What else has been going on? Workouts. I think I mentioned last time that I wanted to increase the intensity, and I've been doing that. I've been following this pretty badass Jeff Cavalier Athlete X home workout program. It's 3 times a week. And on the off days, I'm doing some of my own stuff. I might pick up this like adjustable kettlebell. It only goes up to 40 pounds, and it's like $1 zillion. But I feel like first of all, kettlebells are hard to come by right now. And secondly, since it's adjustable weight, I feel like that'll be helpful for doing things like Turkish get-ups, one arm, clean and presses. Like there's a lot you can do with weight, like a 40-pound weight. To kind of go along with the body weight and band exercise that I've been doing. And I'd also like to start running. One of my homies, he's been running a lot. He's now down to like a 6.5 minute mile, and I think his 3 mile pace is 8 minutes. So I mean that'd be cool too. I've never been much of a runner, I'm more of a fighter, but I mean there's no fighting going on right now, so running is like an essential human activity, so it might be something that's worth getting good at. Plus, you get outside. The only problem is like now the law says you have to wear a mask. You can't really wear a mask and run. I mean, you know, it's one way to train your cardio, I guess. You get some kind of cardio, some type of cardio. um, it might be cool. Might be cool. It's worth a shot. Um, and another thing I've been implementing is I go on like a walk every Sunday. I missed this last Sunday, but the idea is like you leave all your shit at home, no phones, just bring like your keys, maybe since there's like it's kind of dangerous to be Asian right now. There's like hate crimes and stuff, so you want to have what you need in order to protect yourself. Um, but mainly just to go out and like be cut off from stuff and have some time, not so much time, have some space to think. It's like a time for strategic thinking to kind of like get out of like your day-to-day grind, your day-to-day routine, and like zoom out at the bigger picture. Especially now that we're all in quarantine, we're stuck inside. It can be hard to get that kind of space. You're always like in your home with like all your distractions all around. So some altitude, some breathing room, some thinking room. It's like why people always have like good ideas when they're in the shower. Same kind of principle. Um, what else? Oh, books. I finally finished 1587. That was an awesome book, like by Ray Huang. I can't recommend it highly enough. Not only does it give like a really detailed portrait of life in the Ming Dynasty, like the end of the Ming when like things are starting to fall apart. Um, it does it by like giving these like detailed portraits of individual people's lives. So you get like a sense of um, like what the culture was like, what like the day to day life was like at the upper echelon of society. They don't really go into like the lower classes, which is too bad because that stuff is interesting to me. But their portrait of like life among the Ming elites is really good. Um, what really stuck out to me about that book is how much, in the end, like the system was like um, it's like frozen into itself in terms of like it's like so permeated with this need of what we would nowadays call political correctness, but what they called morality. Like everything you do, any attempt to reform the system, you become under fire from all of these basically fundamentalists saying like, oh, this is immoral for ABC reasons. Um, and so in the application of the law and the application of um, in like the implementation of society, there is such this huge gap between like the written regulations and like what's actually effective in practice, that ultimately like the law, so insofar as there is like a law, and like the taxes and stuff, it becomes like the written rules become um so like irrelevant that people are just making decisions on the ground based on their common sense, based on like the application of their own intellect. Which I mean, it works kind of, but it also means that the center is so far from the periphery that it's that you're just kind of like the center cannot hold. Wow, what's that poem like? Round and round the whirling gyre, the center cannot hold, the falcon cannot see the falconer. You know what I'm talking about? It's like that. Um, so the next book I'm trying to finish up is Empire of the Summer Moon. I'm about 2/3 of the way done with it, and it's about the Comanches, who are the badass tribe of horse Indians. They actually they actually fucking defeated the Spanish and the French, and as of like a couple years before the American Civil War, they were actually rolling back the Anglos in Texas. It wasn't until the arrival of the Colt revolver, like the six shooter, that the Anglos finally started to get the advantage again. Because what the deal is at first Comanches, first of all, excellent horsemen. Not only are they brilliant riders and excellent at fighting on horseback, they did this maneuver where they would like slide underneath the horse they were riding. So the body of the horse is screening them, and they would shoot arrows from under the horse's belly. And they could also fire like six, eight. I guess you don't fire an arrow; you shoot an arrow, right? I guess you loose an arrow. So they would loose like six arrows. Meanwhile, the cavalrymen who were sent to chase them, they only have three shots. They got their Kentucky long rifle, bang, and they have two pistols, bang, bang, and that is just not enough bullets. It's just not enough rounds because they're single shot. I mean, they got more bullets, but there's not enough rounds. So the Anglos had a disadvantage up until the arrival of these like repeating, first the revolver and then the repeating rifle. I mean, of course, in a pitched battle, an organized, civilized army has things like artillery, infantry, like line infantry. Like no tribe of a couple thousand horse Indians can stand against like an organized mass of infantry and artillery like that. But we're talking about the Great Plains. You can't move. There's no roads. It's a badlands. It's a wilderness. You can't move like a big ass army like that and supply it. That's the same problem the Chinese had with the Mongols. And in a lot of ways, the Comanches were like the Mongols. Like they're just as fierce as the Mongols, just as like tough as the Mongols. But what they didn't have is, well, what the Mongols didn't have to deal with, what the Comanches did have to deal with, was a fucking ginormous plague that ravaged their population. Like Comanches lost more than 90% of their dudes before the white man even showed up. Like before the story even starts, the Comanches were getting wrecked. So, and along with all that loss of numbers, there's also a loss of culture, and there's a loss of like social organization, which is critical if you're trying to provide like a resistance to an invader. Like if 90% of us were killed, then the bonds that hold society together would become very frayed indeed, right? It's just kind of obvious. But even so, they managed to put up an awesome fight against the encroachment of the Europeans. Because of their toughness and their fighting ability, but also because of their skill with horses. Not only riding them, taming them, and raising them, but also stealing them. Like what they would always do is they would like lure the Europeans deep into their territory, and then at night when the Europeans went to sleep, they would just sneak in and steal their horses or stampede them. Now you're miles and miles into the wilderness. All your supplies are gone or all your ability to move with your supplies is gone because you can't carry all that shit. You were counting on having horses, like pack animals, to carry that. And now you're stuck. You're basically immobilized and defenseless. And they don't even need to fight after that because alone in the wilderness, without any ability to call for help or move or supply yourself, you're just going to get lost or starve to death. So Comanches were some bad mama jammas. So yeah, I'm going to finish up this book, and then next I would really like to read about some like an intellectual history, something like the history of the Enlightenment or the history of money and credit, specifically how like, I've been reading a lot about like Asian history, but I really like to read about like the things that I think made Europeans really stand out, and that is the Enlightenment. That's like what happened in Europe at the 17th century. That's pretty fucking spectacular, pretty special, and I'd like to learn a little more about that, and also about money, specifically like capital markets. Like what is it that enabled investment into industry? Because I think that's like the missing piece that most history fans don't really talk about. Like there's a lot of talk about the Great Divergence. Why is it that Europe became like such a dominant force in the world, whereas the rest of the world kind of like stayed where it was? And I think that the ability of like people to raise money for ventures, I think that's the missing ingredient. But I don't know much about it. So if you guys have any recommendations for good books on those topics, I would love to read one. Maybe an audiobook, some like a pop history, because in this field I'm very much a novice. Lastly, some of my homies have been talking about striking up a book club. We're looking at Cormac McCarthy, The Road, because, post-apocalyptic stuff. We're having Rona season. Um, so yeah, that will be. I'm looking forward to that also. Um, Lastly, on a kind of a personal note, one of my a member of my family, my extended family, was actually diagnosed with the Rona, and he's been in the ICU for a while. Um, he's being ventilated. He's, of course, if you're going to be ventilated, you need to be sedated because the ventilator's no picnic. Um, but his signs are improving, and I am very hopeful that he's going to have a full recovery. So, I don't want to mention his name out of respect for for his privacy, but he's getting the best medical care that he can get, and my hopes are high. So, with that, we've been going. This is a pretty long video already. Shit. With that, I would like to wrap up. Please, if you guys enjoyed this, it'd be cool to some comments, some likes. I like that stuff, but mainly, I would love if you guys did a similar kind of video recap log. I'd love to see what's going on in your lives. We are quarantined, we're isolated physically, but that doesn't mean we need to be isolated socially. So yeah, love to see your stuff, love to see your faces, love to peek into your lives. One friend of mine, she used to work at Disney World. She used to work at Disney, and she does like this story time where she like dresses up in outfits. She does props. It's cool. It's cool. So yeah, I love all that shit. So let's see your faces. I'd way rather see what's going on in your life than read another fucking depressing ass lamentation news story or some opinionated, politicized fucking shit. It's weird how much the Rona is being politicized because it's really like a scientific and medical issue. It's not really a political issue, but of course in this country everything is politicized, I guess. Cool. Yeah, that's it. I guess we'll call it a wrap. Call it yeah. I guess we'll call it a day with that. Cool. So please be safe, wear a mask, stay healthy, stay inside. Copy this video. Let's see what's going on with you. All right. Deuces. Later, skaters.